One afternoon, Gordon and Rebecca were getting ready to leave for their express trains. As usual, Rebecca was bubbling with excitement. But as she waited for her guard's whistle, she looked at the other side of the station. She saw Henry at one of the platforms. He was talking to a man Rebecca had never seen before. The man was tall and thin. He looked very smart and important.
Gordon, who's that man talking with Henry? I never seen him before.
But Gordon didn't answer. It was time for him to leave. That meant it was almost time for Rebecca to leave, but she was still puzzled.
He's probably just a train spotter.
With that, the guard blew his whistle and Rebecca set off with her express. It was a lovely day, and Rebecca was making good time. But she was still confused. Why was Henry chatting with a train spotter? Further down the line, Rebecca had to stop for water at Edward Station. But as Rebecca passed by the yard, there was the tall, thin man again. This time, he was talking to Edward. Now, Rebecca was even more puzzled. She didn't expect to see this train spotter again. And what was he doing in the yard?
Maybe he's some kind of station inspector.
Much later, as the sun started to set, Rebecca whooshed through Vickerstown Bridge and swiftly approached Bauer and Furness, the very first station on the mainland beyond Vickerstown, and the very last stop for the express from Sodor. Rebecca gently pulled into the station right on time and waited to be uncoupled for the return trip. But while she waited, she looked towards the other platform and gasped. Gordon was at the other platform, but so was, once again, the tall, thin man. Now Rebecca was more puzzled than ever. Who was this strange man? Was he a train spotter or an inspector? And how did he know so many engines?
I know who he is. He's a duke. Dukes are very important. They can go wherever they want and they know everyone.
Rebecca felt very clever indeed. At last she had figured it out. Or so she thought. Next morning, Rebecca had to pick up ballast from the miniature railway. She was enjoying chatting with the small engines when she looked towards the station platform and gasped. Standing there, yet again, was the tall, thin man from the other day. This time, he was talking to the small controller, Mr. Fergus Duncan.
He's back again? What is the Duke doing back on Sodor so soon?
Bert overheard Rebecca.
What's this about a Duke, Rebecca? I can only see Wilbert.
Wilbert? The Duke's name is Wilbert?
Wilbert's not a Duke. He's a clergyman. He's friends with all the railways on Sodor. He even wrote books about them.
He did? Did he ever write books about Henry, Edward, and Gordon?
Yes, he did. He's written books about Thomas, Toby, Oliver. He even wrote one about our railway.
Well, how nice for all of you.
But he didn't write about me or Jock. There aren't even any pictures.
We told you, Frank. You and Jock weren't around when Wilbur wrote the book, so he couldn't have known about you.
It's really for the best, Frank. A picture of you in the book probably would have scared the children.
Really, Mike? That's considering he let you be in the book.
Excuse me? What's that supposed to mean, Rex?
That you're ugly, and that you've got a big nose.
Big nose? Oi! Come back here and say that to my face! My nose is beautiful!
Rebecca took no notice of Rex and Mike. She was now beaming with admiration.
A horror movie.
Later that evening, Rebecca returned to Nafford, and there was Wilbert waiting for her. Now she'd finally have the chance to talk to this mysterious clergyman.
Good evening, sir. Are you Wilbert?
I am. Nice to finally meet you, Rebecca. Bert said you wanted to meet me?
Did you really write books about the other engines?
I used to. I wrote stories about the railway for my son, Christopher. Then I published them so other children could read all about Sodor. I'm retired now, so I don't do much writing anymore, but I still like to visit the railways and catch up with old friends. Christopher says that he'd like to write books about Sodor too. Rebecca, would you like to hear one of my stories?
Yes, please, sir. I'll be honored.
And so, the thin clergyman told Rebecca a very familiar story, and the cheerful engine listened with glee.
Once upon a time, there was a little engine called Edward. He lived in a shed with 5 other engines. They were all bigger than Edward and boasted about it.
Meanwhile, nearby, 3 old friends just happily listened. Remembering